Welcome everyone to this online seminar, Transforming B2B E-commerce, the BigCommerce Advantage. We've got some great speakers today. Ian and John from Agency 51, Nad from BigCommerce, and we've got Chris from from Pedigree, the client involved. My name's Paul Doherty. I'll be comparing this session this afternoon. But I'd like to just get the panelists to introduce themselves, starting with you, if that's all right, Ian.
Yeah, sure. So, hi, everyone. I'm Ian Lawton. I'm the CTO of Agency 51. I've worked in e-commerce for about 18 years now, which each time I say it just sounds longer and longer. Before that, I worked in the manufacturing sector, working on connecting factory floor software to ERP, MRP, worked for some large businesses such as Unilever and Nestle and Campbell's. Started building e-commerce sites, and back then, but e-commerce sites were essentially just a web store, and it quickly became apparent that these sites needed to integrate into the back-end ERP, and they would become more enterprise. Built many B2B sites over the years, and seen the evolution of B2B and the opportunities for businesses to take advantages of the sort of features that you were seeing in B2C. Worked with BigCommerce now for several years, and my personal opinion is the best-in-class e-commerce platform, especially now with the B2B edition, which brings a lot of power to the enterprise platform. So, very excited to talk about the Pedigree project. We all feel like it's been a huge success. So thank you very much for joining us.
John.
Hi, I'm John. I'm the Development Director here at Agency 51. So I'm in charge of project delivery and ongoing project success. So I work with clients during the initial discovery phase, as well as organising the technical implementations. I also work with clients after launch to ensure their long-term success. I've got nearly 25 years of commercial experience, feels forever, across multiple verticals: telecoms, aerospace, electrical, and e-commerce. And I love using this experience to help ensure clients achieve successful outcomes. I've got over 10 years in e-commerce, most of it in the recommendation and personalization space. And I've worked for Agency 51 for over 18 months with BigCommerce specifically.
Nad, would you like to introduce yourself?
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to meet you. Excited to be here. My name is Nad. I work for BigCommerce. I've been at the company now for just under 6 years. I'm one of the senior account executives working in our enterprise division, typically involved around the commercials for businesses, either B2B or B2C. And we have a very good partnership with Pedigree Wholesale and, of course, Agency 51 for anything e-commerce and project related around B2B businesses. Pleasure to meet you.
Right, and Chris, if you would.
Hi all, Chris Simmons. I've been at Pedigree Wholesale now for 4 years, 15 years experience in everything to do with e-commerce in many different sectors. I head up the Pedigree Wholesale team, which looks after the Pedigree website, but we also have a Just for Pets website, also on BigCommerce. We have a newly acquired Pets and Friends website, as well as the team looking after our Amazon business to Amazon as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So just to outline the agenda for this seminar and what we hope you'll come away with, we're going to look at certain key aspects through the prism of the Pedigree project, how you can accelerate your time to market, cost savings you can make, how as a B2B business you can increase your sales and the all-important order value, and also really delight your customers. How do you enhance their satisfaction and keep them loyal to you and your brand? We'll also be looking to explain around how operational efficiency can be improved, how you can future-proof your online store, how you can scale it, continue to make waves. And as we go through all the different items and we go through some of the questions as well will be covering other ground too. Now, if you do have any questions, it does depend on time. There's a Q&A element on your Zoom interface. You can ask a question. If we have time at the end, we'll set about answering them. But either way, they'll all be answered either in the session or afterwards. Plus, many of you have submitted some very good questions too. We've actually made that a key feature of this seminar where we'll address those in turn. So what I also wanted to do was just give a bit of a background to some of the organisations presenting today. Agency 51, some of you will know, many of you won't, but we're a full service agency. We originate back in 2006. We came out of we're part of a group, the PureNet group, which has been going since 2006, and has always in that time been delivering some very complex e-commerce solutions, including some very early B2B stuff we've done as well. So it's kind of BigCommerce is really steeped in that sort of B2B background. It's a full service agency. It's has consultancy, development, creative services, design, digital marketing. And we've also been a long-term partner of BigCommerce, and we're very proud of that. So it was great earlier in the year when we were winners of the B2B Excellence Award and runners-up in the Excellence in Delivery category, and runner-up in North European Agency of the Year as well. So that was really gratifying earlier in the year. We're a preferred partner. We're BigCommerce B2B specialised partner, and we're also Big Dev certified. So we've got some really skilled, knowledgeable people within the business who are really used to the technology of BigCommerce and have done some really interesting and leading edge things with it. So I'm just going to ask Chris, if I can, to come up and just tell us a little bit about Pedigree, your background, and what you do.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, quick background into Pedigree Wholesale and online business. So Pedigree Wholesale has been a family-run business since 1972, supplying top quality pet and aquatic products to independent retailers all across the UK. We're grounded in family values and deeply committed to helping our customers to succeed in their businesses. Our website, powered by BigCommerce, is the heart of this support. With its B2B functionality, it provides a streamlined experience, giving our retail partners easy access to over 8,500 products, including our exclusive own brand ranges and UK exclusive brands. Through our BigCommerce website, we offer expert product advice, competitive pricing, and special offers, all designed to help our customers thrive. We're always committed to continuous growth and innovation. We are developing a mobile app at the moment, which will enable easier ordering with barcode scanning functionality. Also using AI to make ordering regular purchases frictionless, alongside boosting our average basket values, which I believe Ian will touch on shortly. With these advances, along with our commitment to quality products, expert insights, and ongoing support, we're ready to meet future demands and keep empowering our customers every step of the way. So again, thanks for joining for us today, and we're excited to show you how Pedigree Wholesale, BigCommerce, and our trusted partners, Agency 51, are working together to drive growth and efficiency for our customers.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Chris. That's brilliant. So what I like to do, every project has its background, every project has its genesis. What I'd like to do, Ian, is ask you just what was the challenge? What was the brief? What did you have to do for Pedigree?
So Pedigree they're essentially looking to re-platform, migrate their existing B2B store, which was petproducts.co.uk. They were on a legacy platform, which was a Netalog by TrueCommerce. They unfortunately suffered from excess downtime and fairly slow performance, and there'd been a lot of bespoke development on the back of it. So it got more and more complex, and it got slower and slower. And the problem with that is that it gives the lack of ability to add new features, right? And you sort of feel like you're falling behind. The Pedigree felt like they were falling behind on that. So they had some initial requirements, which were integration into SAP, support for customer-specific pricing. We'll talk about some of these individual things shortly, but also restricted product catalogs, multi-location stock management, and multi-user customer accounts. They demanded that it be secure and resilient, and of course, BigCommerce platform security and privacy is kind of built into the core of the platform. And BigCommerce is hosted on Google Cloud, so that really helps to provide that sort of reliable experience for customers. Modern B2B features, really, to allow Pedigree to be dynamic and agile and utilize the sort of the latest proven practices in e-commerce. And we'll cover some of those details shortly. Finally, Pedigree were already a client of ours. We built Just for Pets for them, which is one of their direct-to-consumer businesses. Bricks and mortar store. They've got 22 stores around the country. That project was a great success, and I think it opened Pedigree's eyes to BigCommerce and the advantages it gives. And I think that really opened the door for them to consider moving their B2B business onto BigCommerce, especially with the new B2B edition. And finally, a point on there really that's not on there is, of course, they wanted to increase revenue and make more sales, increase customer satisfaction, and hopefully we'll sort of give some information on how we achieved that through this presentation.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Ian. Okay, so you've got the challenge, you've got the brief, you know what you've got to do. John, how did you go about solving it? How did you address the brief? What was the solution you delivered?
Thanks, Paul. So the thing to say was there was a very, very tight deadline, just 6 months to do the entire project. So that included the discovery phase, project development, as well as testing and launch. So as Ian mentioned, due to the ending of their existing license agreement with the legacy platform, but also to ensure that the new site was up and running and ready for their peak season. So as we already alluded to, lots of complex requirements. And these compressed timescales meant that the entire project had to run smoothly to hit the deadline. We managed to achieve that through the use of BigCommerce's B2B Edition. So this has several requirements that were fully met by the B2B Edition. And of course, the open SaaS nature of BigCommerce in general meant that the team had the ability to quickly build the customized solution on top of the BigCommerce APIs. Some of the key B2B Edition features which were utilized are things like company management. So customers can be part of a company hierarchy. This is actually a good example of where BigCommerce are continually innovating on their offering, as there are several new features around company management which have just been released recently. Buyer permissions, so you can have different levels. So junior buyers who can build baskets, and then senior buyers who can actually make the final purchase. And then there's some actual key B2B features out of the box, things like the buyer portal, which includes things like the quick order pad, where customers can quickly enter SKUs and quantities to quickly build up their order, which for companies like Pedigree, where they're ordering hundreds of products at a time, it's a really good feature. And lots of other functionality as well. And I'm personally excited about the B2B roadmap that BigCommerce have got. Finally, the agency ourselves, as you alluded to, we've been around since 2006, huge number of successful projects under the belt, delivering lots of complex B2B solutions on time and budget. So, we had the experience and technical expertise to deliver the project. And I think, as we'll see later on, the outcome clearly demonstrates that we managed to do that. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, John. Nad, if I could bring you in here, we've had the brief, we've had the challenge, we've had how Agency 51 went about solving it with BigCommerce. I'd like to hear from you just to go over why you think BigCommerce seemed to be such the right platform for Pedigree on this project.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. There was a number of factors involved in this. Obviously, I got to build a relationship directly with Chris and the Pedigree team. Some key areas that they're looking for is exploring the best software as a solution. So essentially reducing all of the maintenance burdens associated to a typical e-com if it's open source or custom. So that was one of the key advantages that they were looking to explore, number one. Number two, they wanted to have the ability to be agile and composable because they weren't just looking in the near term, they were also looking ahead, years and years ahead, to understand exactly where can the future proofing lie within the businesses, what can be implemented now versus what's going to be a reduction in cost if they can have more out of the box functionality as well. So that was another key part of it. The B2B element of it was absolutely fundamental. Some of the key challenges that were explained during the conversations and what we could solve for that was really important. Essentially having more out of the box B2B functionality, such as some of the functions that you mentioned, such as quote management, invoice portal, buy again, quick order pads. All of these things were absolutely critical for keeping natively within the system as well. Another area was also working in tandem with other systems. SAP system had to integrate into the BigCommerce platform as part of the whole agenda versus their direct-to-consumer and their business-to-business approach as well. So reducing the time and resources spent from a development perspective in the long term to make sure that everything is tying up within the dots within the business system, because that was something that can be very complex and very challenging when you're working on a back-end open source or custom framework as well, because if you fix one thing, something breaks. So the ability of knowing that there was a more API-first software as a service platform available was absolutely critical. And really importantly, cost. In this day and age, you have to keep ahead of the competition. But at what cost? This is absolutely fundamental to exploring e-commerce platforms because one, you're looking to have a better total cost of ownership over the next 5, 10, 20-year period. But number two, making sure that all of the maintenance burdens are reduced to a minimum as part of having a better profit margin as you grow. So those are some of the key points that was discussed.
Brilliant. Thanks for talking us through that. That's really helpful. And you've made it very clear that there was a lot of stuff out of the box, as you say. So there was a lot of, you get a lot out of BigCommerce, but with the project of this complexity, and I guess this kind of with it doing what Pedigree wanted to do, there must have been some bespoke work. And Ian, I wondered if you could just describe some of that bespoke, non-out of the box functionality that were involved in this project.
Yeah. So integration into SAP was a key feature, and really this had to work as near to real time as possible. And there's a lot of data that we had to move between the systems. That includes everything from all of the customer data, along with the users and the customer information that are against those companies, all the product data, including all the images, the descriptions, things like PDF data sheets. Stock inventory was a key thing to move. Well, I'll delve into that in a little bit more detail. Prices as well, customer specific prices, that is, and naturally sales orders. Clearly, that has to be as real time as possible because you have to get that into the back end so that you update stock inventory figures and that kind of thing. We created a middleware application because of the sort of the powerful APIs that BigCommerce give you. It means that you can shift large amounts of data backwards and forwards. And the middleware solution that we created to deal with sort of the complex logic sort of orchestrated that data backwards and forwards. And clearly we had to make it perform because there's no point, right, in having a data feed for a stock update that takes 20 minutes. It's not good enough. And the same with product data. When you want to sort of update things, you want it going along. So you don't want to have to wait for 30 minutes to an hour for a data feed to run. So we sort of optimized this with sort of internal caching and that kind of trickery to speed that process up. As I say, that was only possible really because of the powerful BigCommerce APIs. Price list functionality. So Pedigree's customers have they're in different pricing tiers, different pricing levels, but of course they also have customer-specific pricing. So many customers have their own price where the price has been negotiated, possibly because they buy a lot of that particular line or that kind of thing. And what that meant was that generated a lot of sort of individual complexity. So what we did is we created pricing catalogs per customer. And again, because we had the capability to be able to push lots of in there, we ended up creating millions of price records in BigCommerce, and it deals with it really, really nicely. Prices are hidden behind a login. So when they log in, they get to see their own prices. And so, for example, on the product page, we display, not only the RRP, but we also show the margin that the customer will make from the product. And I think these kind of things are really useful because you kind of, how much are they going to make? What are they going to make out of it? And pedigrees often sell products in cases. So they'll get a case of 10, for example, of dog food or something. And essentially what we do is we display the RRP of a single unit and the margin they'll make out of that single unit. So again, it's just trying to drive that customer information and optimize that route to conversion. A lot of customers as well qualify for different promotions. Pedigree have something called special order brochure, and different customers fall into different types of promotions. And because we have this customer price catalog per customer, it means that we can give it like a was now price and that kind of thing, specifically personalized to that customer. Multi-location inventory. Pedigree they've got multiple warehouses around the country. I think 5 or 6 warehouses. And customers are essentially assigned to those warehouses where the stock is actually distributed from. So somebody in the Midlands, for example, when they're online and they're making a purchase, the stock will come from the Midlands warehouse. And therefore, customers essentially see the stock, different stock figures, depending on which warehouse they're assigned to. So that multi-location inventory is extremely important for this project. Just on inventory as well, out of stock products are actually pushed to the bottom of product listings. You don't want to see the first page with a bunch of products that they can't purchase. So it's just about optimizing that user journey, only showing them products that they can actually purchase. Restrictive catalogs. So for a subset of customers, Pedigree, they have restrict certain products, so only certain customers can see them and buy them. So we had to do some custom work on the front end to make that happen. If you want to go to the next slide, please, Paul. So shipping scheduling. Because of these different sort of warehouse locations for customers, we had to essentially customize the checkout so that so they see different delivery times, because dispatch and shipping happens from different warehouse locations around the country. So customers, when they get to the checkout, it's all tailored to them. And what we actually saw, that say if a customer's checkout was on a Friday at 1 p.m., for example, we saw that customers, what they would do is they would build their cart up through the week. So I guess as replenishing stock off their shelves, the stockists would go, right, I need 100 more of them, and I need 50 more of them. And they would just add to the cart. And then what they would do is they would place the order before that delivery window closed. So some things we did is we put banners across the top, so whenever the customer's on the site, they would see how many hours, minutes they had left before the delivery window closed, which was really good. One interesting thing about this idea that people are adding things to the cart and they're building up through the week, which I guess is definitely something that is unique to B2B. we realized alongside Pedigree that what you can do is you can analyze service levels. So if you've got a warehouse over in the West Midlands, for example, and a customer's got something in the cart, you know they're going to be checking out at some point in that week, but that stock is looking quite low. It'd be really great to sort of have a visibility of that. And you may have in another warehouse a lot more stock somewhere else. So what you want to do is you want to sort of move it over to that warehouse, and you don't lose the sale. So when the customer gets to the checkout, they don't see that, they've got no stock, so I'm going to go to a competitor. And it's about maximizing that revenue, really, and stopping the customer from going to a competitor, meet them off at the pass sort of thing. Customer service features, there's a couple of nice features that we added, which I think is B2B specific. When a customer logs in and they view a product page, they can download high quality images of the product in a zip file. And, that really helps the stockist with their own point of sale displays. Another thing, they can log into the My Account area and download their unique price list, which, it's a spreadsheet or CSV where they can see the price, the unit of measure, RRP, the sale price, and more importantly, the margin, how much they're going to make off it. I can't stress enough, it's about trying to generate that customer loyalty. It's about giving extra bits of customer service. Optimize user experience. So one of the things that on a lot of websites or a lot of web stores, when a product is discontinued, it just kind of disappears off the store, right? So Pedigree, we have this thing called alternate product. So we don't remove any product from the site. Instead, we change the template for the product display page for discontinued products, so that the actual product is the image and the description is a lot smaller, with a banner saying this product is no longer available, but here's an alternate, and here's the buy button to add it to your cart. So where you would possibly lose a sale and a customer going off to a competitor, you're still trying to maximize that sort of conversion, really. Another thing for the user experience on B2B is that customers tend to, when they add things to a cart on a standard B2C site, you get a pop-up saying added to cart, click a button to view checkout, click a button to view the cart. On Pedigree, it's actually just a small little prompt on the right-hand side saying added to cart, because on B2B, people may want to go, I want 1 of them, I want 10 of them, I want 5 of them. And it's trying to optimize that journey. And on the product list pages, we have swatches. So over the product images, we have things like new, clearance, Christmas, exclusive to Pedigree, trying to use that real estate to trying to show, give as much information to the customer as possible. And of course, the whole website is mobile optimized, and we can talk a little bit more about that later on. And finally, personalized banners. Pedigree have different customer segments, custom stores that just concentrate on aquariums and things like fish food and that kind of thing, garden centers where they're selling bird food and that sort of thing. So each customer has a different sort of personalized view. They get different banners that are displayed to them, which clearly gives them a personalized experience on the site. You're kind of using those B2C sort of lessons that have been learned, and you're actually applying them to B2B. So
a lot of it jumps out to me as these customizations is all about making the B2B customer journey as easy as possible.
Yeah, it's
possible, helpful as possible.
Friction. Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. That's really, really interesting. So, John, you've had the brief, you delivered, put in a solution with using the BigCommerce platform with all the great out-of-the-box features, plus some of those customizations that Ian was talking about. What happened?
So not only was the project on this fixed deadline of 6 months, but due to factors outside of Pedigree's control, the new site was actually required to go live 6 weeks earlier than planned. So under 5 months was the project. We pulled all the stops to make this happen, and the team delivered the project on time to this tight deadline. So once we delivered the project early, we worked with Pedigree to ensure they were happy with the solution. and we still work closely with Pedigree today. We're working with them to make further improvements to the experience and functionality. So some of the features Ian has mentioned already has been added since launch. So a few interesting stats to share with you about the project launch itself. In the first 12 hours, Pedigree saw in excess of £120,000 worth of orders. I think this is a testament to how stable the solution was right out of the box, and also to the stellar reliability of BigCommerce itself. One of the big advantages of working with BigCommerce is that their platform is stable and they're able to handle these large traffic flows of these. Traditionally, if you're hosting yourself, you launch something, you get those sort of large traffic volumes, you would probably run into server issues. No problem. Handle it with a blip. Average order value increased by more than 5%. It's a huge number, really. A really interesting metric, and I think it just highlights the advantages that a modern, well-built B2B solution can bring to a business. Customers can quickly, easily order and then reorder, so resulting in great revenue. And then the final point to note really is the overwhelming positive feedback. So they've had lots of emails from customers and feedback from the sales reps as well, saying how happy they are with the new site. And what they found is an ever-increasing number of customers who are choosing to place their orders online. This is great for Pedigree, of course. It helps to free up their sales reps to concentrate on driving additional revenue.
Brilliant. I mean, that's good. The first 12 hours after any launch is
It's a scary time, but yeah, exactly.
That's incredible results. No, thank you for that. That's brilliant. So, a successful launch then, and in my experience, e-commerce platforms never stand still. They're always growing and adapting, especially successful ones when people want to realise that investment. What does the future hold, certainly in the immediate term, for the Pedigree site from the Agency 51 perspective? What are you guys working on at the moment?
So yeah, absolutely. So we as mentioned before, we're working on a native mobile app that will work on iPhones, iPads, Android devices, and essentially will replicate the same functionality that we have on the actual website with some additions. So one of the things we're going to provide is allow the stockists to log in and download a list of barcodes that are specific for the products that they can buy, and they'll be able to print them out and put them around their store or in the warehouse. And the app will have the ability to scan the barcodes. So a customer can walk around their store and say, well, I need to replenish that stock, and scan. I need 10 of those, I need 50 of those, and be able to bulk add that to the cart, while it's fresh in their mind. And this will work offline as well. So, in some warehouses, you may not have Wi-Fi at the back of the warehouse or mobile data or access points. So it was important to make sure that this works offline. They can build up a whole cart and then add it and then be able to check out later on. Another thing that we're working on is regular buys. So in the B2B world, customers tend to buy the same things over and over again. So we are developing this feature where customers log on, they can quickly access their regular buys and be able to add that quite easily. Also, when they get to the checkout, have the ability to show, there are 10 items that you regularly buy that you've not added to the cart. Would you like to add them now? It's trying to upsell and increase that average order value at that point in time. So another thing that we are developing is dynamic promotions. So Pedigree's customers, you get almost different average order value segments. So you'll get customers that will spend £1,000, or customers that will spend 2,000, and the customer will spend 10,000 week in, week out. So if you can work out what that customer's average value is, you can put them in a segment, and then you can have dynamic promotions that run around that. So when a customer is on the site and it's getting close to when they're going to place an order, maybe within the 24-hour period just before the delivery window closes, you can sort of activate a promotion to try and get them to spend that little bit extra, try and move them up to that next average order value segment, by saying, spend a little bit more and we'll give you these free products. And that sort of will work. So as that customer hopefully starts to spend more, they'll move up to the next segment, and then you'll also get that sort of dynamic promotion that'll kick in and start to try and convince them up to the next one. But the thing you don't want to do is, if a customer usually spends 1,000 in an order, and you're trying to get them to 1,500, you don't want to offer the promotion to them if they're already at 1,400. You see what I mean? They're already at that sort of stage. So that's where these dynamic promotions come in. They only activate at certain points along that user journey. So yeah, I think
yeah. No, that sounds really interesting, and it's interesting seeing artificial intelligence. So many people focus very much on merchandising and areas like that, but it's really interesting to see AI being used in a slightly different way on an e-commerce site.
Absolutely, with the regular purchases, it'd be quite easy to just sort of say, just based on what they've bought. But you also want to look at when they bought it. So if they bought 3 products 2 months ago, and then they bought 3 products last week, you kind of want to prioritize the products they bought last week. Do you know what I mean? Because it's more recent, it's more in their mind. So you kind of add the AI adds scores essentially to this algorithm. So you're only showing the correct regular buys that's going to optimize that purchase.
Another example of AI really kind of permeating e-commerce, which is an ongoing trend. Brilliant. No, thank you for that, Ian. So I think we are now going to just delve into some of the questions that you've asked beforehand. We've had some really good questions through, and we're going to throw these out to the panel and get them to comment on them. So we'll kick off with the first one, which is what were some of your compromises and why are we happy to make them now? As a short-term project, I imagine there are a few, and I guess your customers are rarely happy to make compromises, but let's see what were the ones that you looked at as part of this build. Chris and Ian, if you could come back on this one.
Yeah, one that springs to mind is with the legacy website and the old platform, we had functionality enabling us to hide individual products from particular customers. So if they weren't authorized to sell that product, we could hide them so they would never see it. That was in our original scope to you guys. But when we came down to look at it, we went for a different solution, which was to enable them to see the product with some text around it, which said you're not eligible to buy this product, but please call in to our customer services team to explore the options of being able to buy it, and just hide the buy button. So it showed that we had that range, so that it gives them ambitions to potentially order it in the future, but didn't give them the option to buy it. So there was a bit of pushback within the company internally on this change, but we went with it, and I'm happy to say we had zero pushback or zero complaints or anything about it at all. So it works out okay in the end.
Yeah, I think you can sometimes, there's that saying, sweat the small stuff. And sometimes, when we were up against the timeline, especially the fact that it had to be brought forward by 6 weeks, there were compromises we had to make. That was one of them. There were other minor ones, but the great thing about BigCommerce is it's so flexible that there isn't any sort of permanent compromise that you have to make. You can pretty much achieve anything, really. It's just about how you approach it. So fine, you might have to make compromises for a certain release phase, but there's no reason why you can't add something, at a later phase and evolve, which is always good anyway. So
all e-commerce projects are multiple phases anyway, aren't they? So it's just ruling out what doesn't go in phase one. No, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. That's very insightful. Okay, got a question. One for you, Nad, I think. What versions of SAP have BigCommerce integrated into?
Yeah, perfect. Great question. Thanks, Paul. Well, many. We work as a API-first software as a solution business, serving the B2B businesses that we work with. Obviously, we take back-end critical business functions very seriously. So from an API perspective, there's, off the top of my head, the first one is definitely Pedigree Wholesale. So that's one. We work with other businesses such as Lavazza Coffee for B2B, and that's another SAP Business One initiative that we have. Leicester Technologies, they use SAP by design, because they have part of a wider group a lot more complexities when it comes down to the ordering and the reconciliations of account process. Another one would be Play It Against Sports, which utilizes SAP S4 HANA and Benson for Beds, which is another notable, very well-known, iconic British furniture brand who also utilizes the SAP module. One thing I would essentially add is that this is where the expertise of Agency 51 comes in, understanding, scoping out the elements, because SAP as a version obviously is very similar, but there's a lot of differences with the different versions of the SAP models that are available on the market today. So quite a few, so not an issue for us.
And I guess with using things like middleware and APIs, not just SAP but other ERP systems and third-party systems, there's always, or it's likely there's always a way to get to those systems and have an integration just using the kind of experience that you and your team have got. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We've integrated to so many different platforms now, you kind of lose count. Some of them are really nice to actually integrate to. They have a lovely API. Some don't. Some you have to talk directly to a database. Sometimes you have to write some, for example, something like Oracle's NetSuite, you have to write what's called a RESTlet script that runs in NetSuite, and you sort of talking to the database, and then that offers up the data that then gets called by something else. There's multiple ways to do it. So, yeah.
No, great. Thanks for that. Okay, a question here. What's the biggest trend coming to B2B that no one's talking about? I mean, you always think of trends as being something that lots of people are talking about, but there are things that go on that sort of below the radar that sort of jump out at you as a sort of fully formed thing. What's jumping out? What's the thing to jump out as next year?
I think the thing that I think is most overlooked in B2B, and something that I think will be a big trend eventually, is the rise of autonomous purchasing. So this idea that you've got a lot of data, order history, you know what your customers are buying, automate that process of procurement and resupply. A lot of people think about AI in terms of personalization or AI in terms of customer service, but AI could be used for that, the sort of autonomous purchasing aspect of things. And I think when we talk about the regular buys functionality, this idea of customers being able to see what they always buy, be able to get it very, very quickly, well, you could kind of take that one step further and sort of start to implement that autonomy with that as well. So rather than a customer having to log on and sort of add those things, it'd be great if you could sort of generate a cart for you, so the customer doesn't have to sort of add them all in there. I mean, you could just, it's a little bit different to subscriptions really, but you could just sort of create a cart full of products, regular buy products, and email the customer and say, look, these are the things that you usually buy this time of year. You could even say these are some alternates because this one's no longer there. Hit this button and job done. These are the quantities you usually buy, and just make that journey and that process as easy as possible. So I think that's definitely something that's really interesting, autonomous purchasing.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that one. This is an interesting question. How would a non-wholesale B2B client benefit from the B2B edition of BigCommerce? John, what's your view on this?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we've got other clients. We've got clients who serve both B2C and B2B clients, but they don't currently have specific features on the website. So, it's clearly a big topic for a lot of companies out there. I'll say that customers who are perhaps starting out on the B2B journey, the B2B edition will be a great way to provide some sort of initial way in. It's like a great gateway into providing B2B features. The reason I'd say that is because you get a lot of the features out of the box. And I say as more B2B customers move online, it helps to kind of reduce the cost of business. But, because traditionally B2B customers often kind of come through other channels, phone, email to make the orders. So more customers you bring online, reduce the cost of business, frees up your sales reps, you talked before, providing, and, also provides features that keeps these B2B customers keep coming back again. I think one thing which is becoming more apparent is that, as more millennials come into the workforce, these are now in a position where they've got purchasing power. A lot of these people, these younger people, they don't really want to order by phone or, anymore. What they want to do is everything online, often on their phone as well, to be honest. And so customers want to have this. So B2B businesses have to keep evolving and adapting to provide this. So something like adding on the B2B edition would be a great way to start to build these things out.
Absolutely. And I suppose if you've got it, also what the B2B edition does is if you are an existing B2C site, it provides that easy gateway into that side of the business, or it's you can go about changing your business online first, almost in terms
exactly
of the other way around.
Exactly. So, yeah, exactly. And you say then there's other things you can come, integrating into various back-end systems like SAP can come later, perhaps, but it can at least give you this out-of-the-box functionality which B2B customers often want from the get-go.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, John. Very interesting. Question here. How is it best to build B2B functionality into the online user experience if you have both B2B and B2C customers? And this is one of the perennial challenges, isn't it?
It is. I'd say it's kind of a bit of a follow-on from the last question, really. I said there's different journeys, isn't it, really, for both B2B and B2C. As we talked before, the experiences which provided for pets are very B2B specific, and because they've got a very different journey. They want to order lots of quantities, often hundreds of products at a time. They come back regularly, keep ordering them. They want to provide all this functionality, makes that really easy out of the box. Best way to do it, so as an example, as an agency, we can take an existing B2C theme and easily stitch in the B2B edition into it. So it's really quite a simple and a cost-effective way to get going, really. Some useful things we can have, which gives you really is things like restricting logins. So your guests and your B2B and your B2C customers have to apply for a corporate account. So you can kind of gateway this kind of trade elements on the back of it. It means you can create seamless experiences for all of your customers, specifically out of the box. I would say things which that gives you, which, specific B2B ones, your buyer portal and your invoicing portal are great ones for there. But also things like payment visibility control, the fact that your B2B customers can pay on account, for example, whereas your B2C customers can't. Great feature you can do there. And looking wide, of course, BigCommerce has multi-storefront, so you can easily kind of actually want to build them out across the board. So, for example, if you're selling in different languages, different regions, you can bolt B2C B2B edition into all of them, because B2B edition is kind of multi-storefront available, so you can easily build those out as you go.
Oh, interesting. And it's also, just referring back to one of the points that Ian made earlier, you've got some parallels where you see B2B pinching ideas from B2C, like the banners and things like that. So that's in some ways they sort of blur at the ends. Anyway.
I think they do. It's what works best for each client, isn't it? Really. There are some features which probably work well on a B2C side, but some things certainly don't. So things like I talk about the regular buyers, etc., purely B2B, and they're great ones to kind of keep innovating on, I think.
Brilliant. No, thanks, John. That's great. How responsive or what trigger does BigCommerce need to make back-end improvements to B2B edition roadmap? Is there more visibility for users on planned rollout? So that's a question for you, Nad. What's BigCommerce's view on this?
Yeah, perfect. So we take the feedback from our customers extremely seriously, because one of our objectives is to make sure that we're keeping our customers as far ahead of the competition as possible with all of the native functionality. Heavily invested in terms of the product, the research and development in terms of what our customers either have, either want or are desired in the future as well. So we've got a rollout of our customer success management teams, who essentially provide quarterly business reviews. And those quarterly business reviews also outline specific key areas as part of our B2B roadmap strategy as well. A few off the top of my head would be the B2B dashboard for customizable sales reps, for mobile-friendly field sales agents, providing additional information while they're on the go, that's something that will be soon to be released, which is something that's been quite favoured with a lot of businesses. Another key area is also the automation of accounts receivable, new company-specific invoice payment terms. So essentially in the dashboard, just clicking a drop-down button in terms of a payment term. So essentially you can also refine that via the net 30, 60, 90 or whatever you want to action. Also, when it comes down to the credit functionality, we've also already enabled this, and it has been rolled out to give your customers and your teams the ability to have different overrides in terms of different credit functions, credit facilities, based on who's logging in. So that one was recently implemented. The third one, which was recently implemented, was the buyer portal being open source. So again, full customizability when it comes down to that perspective. What's being rolled out in the next several months? AI. So that's a really, really exciting one that we're really looking forward to. So future customer lifetime value, automation via big AI with inventory stock levels for future campaigns, future advertising spend for use in advanced segmentation, and custom forecasts. So again, AI is a big one when it comes down to the product offering as well.
Brilliant. That sounds there's a lot in the pipeline and a lot going on behind the scenes. Thanks for that, Nad. Ian, what new strategies? I know I'm conscious of time, and I know we've answered some of these, but just might be worth a recap on the strategies being implemented to increase average order values.
Sure. I guess just touch on some of the things we've spoken about before and what we've done with Pedigree. Talked about the dynamic promotions. Trying to convince customers to buy an extra few products to be able to push that value up. Regular buys, again, talked about a lot. That particular aspect that on the checkout, highlighting that, hey, you've missed 2 or 3 sort of products that you regularly buy. Add them now. Another great idea is dynamic volume-based pricing as well. So this idea of when they're on the product page for specific customers, if you know that you always buy 10 of a certain product or 100 of a certain product, how about displaying a dynamic promotion that if they were to buy more of that particular product, then they'll get a bigger bulk discount. And this comes back to showing the margin. It comes back to showing what they will make. So you can add things like like calculators on the page and things, so that they can see that the more they buy, they will save, but they will make more margin. And I think again, it's just trying to hit home on that. So there's a few interesting strategies. I think that more than just your people who bought this, bought that, which doesn't really work in the B2B world because usually people buy the whole reams of everything. So
good idea what they want.
Those kind of traditional recommenders don't work as well on B2B.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks very much. Some really useful information in there as well. What about, will there be an option to communicate with our stockists within BigCommerce soon? Something more sophisticated than notes on orders would be beneficial. John?
So as far as we know, based on the current BigCommerce roadmap, there's nothing around messaging, but of course this may well change. As Nad alluded to, there's an awful lot of things on the pipeline, so it's not now, it won't necessarily be on in the next sort of year or so. But I'd say that one of the other things about BigCommerce is it's a really rich ecosystem around it. Lots of third-party apps that provide pretty much anything you could think of. So my initial thoughts on this would be to utilize some of the amazing messaging apps there are. Let you communicate with customers over a variety of channels, email, on-page live chat, SMS, for example. So plenty of ways where you can communicate with various people. So it's one of our clients, and we look to understand their specific requirements, see what actually works for them, because, what works for one client wouldn't necessarily work for the other one. So one app might work for one, will work for somebody else. So it's all about understanding requirements and then finding the correct solution.
Horses for courses. Thank you, John. Does a B2B business have to work independently from the business-to-business consumer business to be truly successful?
From my perspective, no, I don't think it does need to work independently. On a platform like BigCommerce, B2B is essentially augmented onto the existing B2C, and somebody who logs in as a company user, they'll see a different, they can have a different user journey to a B2C customer. And I think actually there's huge benefits of that, of having, one control panel back end. They can use the same integration mechanisms, and ultimately that's going to reduce cost of ownership. So my opinion is you don't have to have the two systems working independently for it to be successful. With a platform like BigCommerce, you can achieve the same.
Yeah, just an example from our side, we use the Pet Products website, obviously mainly for the B2B customers, but our staff use it from a B2C perspective. They go on, they log in with their personal email addresses, they see their bespoke pricing, they can order exactly the same as a B2B user. They go through the journey, they check out. Based on their login, they're put into a particular customer group. So B2B customers are on account, whereas the staff customers are on a credit or debit card. So they pay, go through the process as normal. As Ian says, that goes through the same process into our SAP solution, into our warehouse solution, is picked and packed, and just has a note on it that it's a customer delivery and gets put into racking that the staff can go and collect. So same front end, same back end, same solutions all the way through, but for two different customer journeys.
Brilliant. Okay, if I can ask you two on again for the next question, which is again, these ones that have been addressed during the course of this, but worth recapping. What is the most effective way to increase conversion in a B2B environment?
Yeah, I think for me, it's down to making the journey as frictionless as possible. So we've talked a few times about regular buys. So it's something that Ian and I and the team and yourself are working on currently, which is the idea of a lot of our customers come in each week and buy very similar products. So they buy them, they sell them that week, and then they reorder them for the next week. So the time it takes for them to come on and search or navigate to that particular product, add it to basket, a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen times to make that basket, it is very time consuming. So the ability to offer them that as soon as they come onto the website, so here's your regular buys, here's some alternatives that we haven't, as ones that are out of stock, add them in one go, gives them all that time back. And that could be offering them and showcasing them new products. So given our expertise in terms of where there's good margin products that they're missing out on that other local pet shops have, or just giving them the option to browse around and see stuff that they may not have seen before. So just giving that time back to, enhance their range, but also for us, increasing our average basket values.
Yeah. To add to that as well, just on reducing the friction points, with B2B Edition, you tend to have your company already configured in the back end. So there's, when you get to the checkout, there's no adding in addresses or any of that. The idea is that you get to the checkout, you put in your purchase order number if that's required, and you can pay on account, and the checkout is pretty quick. Another interesting thing, we mentioned it before, but discontinued products. Don't let a customer go off to another competitor. Show alternate products, that kind of thing. That's all. So just thinking of ideas to stop the customer from disappearing and turning that negative into something that is going to result in a conversion.
That's brilliant. Briefly, Chris, because we're nearly out of time, if you could, how would you recommend connecting with your B2B customers to understand their needs?
Yeah, so there's different ways. I know John touched on this with live chat or different methods or plugins to the BigCommerce solution to be able to communicate with the customers. We do have a team of BDMs, reps that travel around the country and visit our stores on a regular basis. But one thing that we have done is we've developed a solution where we put a survey onto the confirmation page of the checkout. This is a great place to put it. People have already committed, they're buying, they're going through it, and they see a questionnaire, and they're much more likely to fill that information out. So we gather a lot of information from that. So one example of that was recently we launched some social proof solution onto the website where it popped up and said, this product is just sold, this product is just sold. The idea behind that was to showcase products that people may not have known existed on in their current range, expand and find those new products. The questionnaire that we put on at the time wasn't anything to do with that, but at the bottom it had any other comments. And we got a lot of comments telling us to take that pop-up off because it was annoying and getting in the way. So it was on for about 4 days, and then we very quickly took it off. So just another way where we engage with our customers in and out, new custom development, not out of the box, where we enable us to gather information and we can act on it very quickly.
Just to add to what Chris is saying there, I think that's incredibly useful to get a survey, because customers will tell you when they don't like something. And we make mistakes. We put functionality on. We're trying to increase sales. We're trying to increase the revenue. Sometimes it gets in the way, and customers they get fed up with it. So to get that real feedback is just invaluable, really. So having surveys at the end of the journey is a really good way of doing it.
Customers are ready wallflowers, are they? Just give them the opportunity. And that's a good thing. We're out of time, I'm afraid. I'm sorry for those who've asked questions throughout it. We will come back to you on them. It's just that our time is up here. We'll be in touch. We'll be sharing the slides. Just want to thank the speakers today. Brilliant, insightful comments and some really interesting information I hope everyone's benefited from. Thanks to you, people attending. Thanks for your time. It's great to see so many of you on, and I hope you've got takeaways there that you can learn from and act on. If you need to get in contact, ask us a question, interested in any other projects we've done, there's email, phone, and the website there. Get in contact. We'd love to hear from you. But yeah, once again, thank you, everyone, and I hope it's been a very useful session. It has been really interesting for me, certainly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all
very much.